I check my watch again. 9:47 p.m. Eliza is 17 minutes late. The dashboard clock in my Honda Civic glows faintly as I sit parked half a block from her family's Pacific Heights mansion. I've become intimately familiar with this spot, close enough to see when she leaves, far enough that the security cameras can't identify my car. This is what love looks like for us. Calculated distances and timed departures. My phone vibrates. Running late. Dad cornered me about work. 10 more mines. Sorry. I text back a thumbs up emoji, even though disappointment settles in my chest. 10 minutes will become 15, maybe 20. It always does when Lawrence Chen decides to dispense career advice to his middle child. 8 months we've been doing this dance. 8 months of me waiting in parking lots, arriving at restaurants 20 minutes before her, leaving events separately. 8 months of being introduced as my friend Noah, or sometimes just Noah from work, though I've never set foot in the marketing agency where she's an executive. I rest my head against the steering wheel. What am I doing here? We met at a charity auction for the city's arts education program. My architecture firm had donated design services for a community center, and I was working the bar for extra cash. Eliza wore a deep blue dress that made her look like she was wrapped in midnight. When she approached the bar, she ordered a gin and tonic, but stayed to ask about the architectural sketches on display nearby. That's actually my design, I admitted, pouring her drink. Her eyebrows raised. You're moonlighting as a bartender? I'm an architect, moonlighting as a bartender, I corrected. Non-profit work pays in exposure, not rent money. She laughed, and something inside me shifted, like furniture being rearranged to make space for something new. I'm Eliza, she said, extending her hand. Noah Reynolds. We talked until my supervisor shot me a warning look. She slipped me her card before disappearing back into the crowd. I called her the next day, expecting nothing. 2 weeks later, we were inseparable. Or so I thought. There's something I need to explain, she said one night, our bodies still warm against each other in my bed. My family. They have expectations about who I date. Okay, I said, though I already felt something closing like a door between us. My father built everything from nothing when he immigrated here. He's very traditional about certain things. She traced patterns on my chest, not meeting my eyes. If he knew about us, it would create problems I'm not ready to handle. So, what are you saying? I'm saying I want to keep seeing you, but we need to be private about it. Just for now. I should have asked how long "for now" meant. I should have questioned why a 28-year-old successful woman was hiding her relationship like a teenager. Instead, I kissed her and said I understood. I didn't understand at all. The restaurant is dimly lit and trendy. Eliza's choice. It's in the Mission, far from Pacific Heights, far from anywhere her family might venture. I'm so sorry, she says, sliding into the seat across from me. Her hair is pulled back in a sleek ponytail, pearl earrings catching the light. My father wouldn't stop talking about quarterly projections, and then my mother invited Marcus Wong for dessert. The name drops between us like a stone. Marcus Wong, the surgeon's son of my father's college roommate. Perfect on paper. She's mentioned him before, the man her parents wish she would date. Harvard Medical School, from a family with connections stretching back generations in both America and China. Sounds like a fun evening, I say, unable to keep the edge from my voice. She reaches for my hand, then stops, glancing around the restaurant first. The gesture says everything. It was torture, she says. All I could think about was getting here to you. I want to be angry, but she looks so genuinely distressed that I feel my irritation dissolving. This is our pattern, her apologizing, me forgiving, nothing changing. Tell me about your day instead, she says brightly. How's the revitalization project going? I light up despite myself. The downtown district revitalization is my first chance to lead something meaningful transforming a neglected historic neighborhood without displacing its community. The community board approved my initial designs. If we can secure the rest of the funding, we break ground in spring. That's amazing. Her enthusiasm is genuine. This is the Eliza I fell for, the one who sees me, really sees me. We should celebrate. I was thinking the same thing. Maybe a weekend trip? Point Reyes has those cottages I told you about. Her smile falters. This weekend? I can't. My parents are hosting a dinner for some investors from Shanghai. Next weekend? Family photos for the Foundation's annual report. I set down my fork. Is there any weekend that isn't reserved for your family? She looks wounded. It's complicated, Noah. It's always complicated. I keep my voice low, though I want to shout. 8 months, Eliza. We've been together 8 months, and your family doesn't know I exist. They will. I just need... Time. You just need time. I've heard this before. She opens her mouth to respond when a voice interrupts us. Eliza, I thought that was you? A woman approaches our table, elegant in that effortless way that speaks of old money. Eliza's posture changes instantly, shoulders back, smile brightening artificially. Mrs. Liu, how wonderful to see you. They exchange pleasantries while I sit awkwardly, waiting for an introduction that I already know will be incomplete. This is Noah, Eliza finally says, my friend from work. I extend my hand, swallowing the bitterness that rises in my throat. Nice to meet you. Mrs. Liu gives me a polite nod before turning back to Eliza. Your mother mentioned you've been so busy with the foundation lately. Too busy, she says, for social engagements. Her eyes flick briefly to me. Just prioritizing what matters, Eliza responds smoothly. When Mrs. Liu finally leaves, the air between us feels heavy with unspoken words. I'm sorry, Eliza whispers. Friend from work, I repeat flatly. She's on my mother's charity board. She reports everything. And heaven forbid anyone know you're dating an architect who tends bar on weekends. That's not fair. Isn't it? The rest of dinner passes in strained conversation. Later, at my apartment, we find our rhythm again in the dark, where class divisions and family expectations can't reach us. But when her alarm goes off at midnight, family breakfast tomorrow, the real world crashes back. After she leaves, I stay up drawing. My drafting table is crammed into the corner of my studio apartment, but it's where I feel most honest. I sketch buildings that transform spaces, that make people feel something. Buildings that might someday make even Lawrence Chen impressed enough to let me date his daughter openly. I hate myself a little for even thinking it. This is getting ridiculous, James says, setting down his beer. We're at our usual dive bar, where the floors are sticky but the drinks are cheap. You're a secret. How does that not bother you more? James has been my best friend since we were kids in Oakland, both of us raised by single mothers who worked impossible hours. He's the only person who can say these things to me. It's temporary, I say, the words sounding hollow even to me. It's been 8 months, man. Either she's ashamed of you or she's a coward. Neither is a good look. It's not that simple. Her family is different. They have expectations. James gives me a look that cuts through my excuses. My family had expectations too. They expected us to make rent. What they didn't do was make me hide the people I care about. I stare at my beer. James doesn't understand the Chen family dynamics. Hell, I barely understand them myself, only seeing glimpses through Eliza's carefully curated stories. The father who built an empire from nothing, who now controls it all with precision. The mother who gave up a promising music career to be the perfect wife, and now channels that lost ambition into her children's success. The older brother trying desperately to be worthy of the family legacy. The younger sister playing at compliance while harboring secret rebellions. And Eliza in the middle, trying to be both the daughter they want and the woman she wants to become. I love her, I say finally, because that's the simplest truth. James softens. I know you do. I just don't want you settling for scraps of someone's life when you deserve the whole meal. On my way home, I think about what James said. Am I settling? Is love supposed to feel like this? Beautiful but constrained, passionate but incomplete? My phone buzzes with a text from Eliza. Miss you already, breakfast was torture. Mother hinted about Marcus again. I type and delete 3 responses before settling on. Can we talk tomorrow? In person. 3 dots appear, disappear, appear again. Everything okay? I stare at the screen. Is everything okay? No, but I don't know how to fix it either. Just want to see you, I reply, which is both true and not the whole truth. Eliza meets me at my apartment the next evening, bringing Thai food and a cautious smile. She knows something's off. I've been thinking, I start, after we've settled on my second-hand couch. That sounds ominous. She tries for lightness, but her eyes betray her worry. I can't do this anymore. Not like this. The words come out in a rush. I want a real relationship, Eliza. I want to take you to dinner without scanning the restaurant for your parents' friends. I want to be able to call you on the weekend without worrying I'm interrupting family time. I want to exist in your life, not just in the margins of it. She sets down her fork, her face unreadable. You don't understand what you're asking. Then help me understand, because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're ashamed of me. That's not it at all. There's real pain in her voice. My family sacrificed everything to give me opportunities. Everything. My father worked 18-hour days when I was little. My mother gave up her concert career. They did it all so we could have the perfect life. And in return, they just want us to make the right choices. And I'm the wrong choice. She doesn't answer immediately, which is answer enough. Why did you even start this, Eliza? If you knew they wouldn't accept me, why did you call me after that fundraiser? Why have we spent 8 months building something you never intended to acknowledge? Tears spill down her cheeks. Because I couldn't help it. Because I've spent my whole life being the person they wanted me to be, dating the people they approved of, and then I met you. You looked at my family's donation, and instead of seeing a tax write-off, you saw an opportunity to build something beautiful for people who needed it. She moves closer, taking my hands. I fell in love with you because you're everything they didn't teach me to want, and it terrifies me how much I want you anyway. Her words untangle something tight in my chest. Then let me into your life, really into it. She wipes her tears, taking a shaky breath. 3 months. Give me 3 more months to prepare them. Then we go public no matter what. I want to demand now, today, this instant. But I see the fear behind her determination, and I remember that she's fighting against 28 years of expectations. 3 months, I agree. And then no more hiding. She kisses me like she's sealing a promise. 3 months goes faster than I expect. I throw myself into my work, the revitalization project becoming my refuge from relationship uncertainty. My designs gain attention from the senior partners, who start inviting me to client meetings I would have been excluded from before. Meanwhile, Eliza begins what she calls parent preparation. Casual mentions of wanting more independence, hypothetical conversations about friends who are dating outside their parents' expectations. My mother actually said something interesting yesterday. she tells me one night over the phone. She said marriage is too important to leave to the whims of the heart alone, but too personal to leave to the calculations of others. Is that progress? For my mother, that's practically a revolution. Then everything accelerates. My design for the revitalization project wins a local architecture award, not huge in the grand scheme, but significant enough to put my name and photo in industry publications and local business news. I don't think anything of it until Eliza calls me, breathless with urgency. My father mentioned you at dinner tonight. He didn't realize it was you, but he was talking about that promising young architect he read about in the Business Times. My heart races. What did you say? Nothing, but Alexander gave me a look. I think he recognized you from that time he saw us together at Nopa. She pauses. Sophia warned me he's been asking questions. Alexander Chen, Harvard Law, heir apparent to the Chen Empire, and from Eliza's stories, a man who catalogs threats to family harmony with lawyerly precision. So what now? Eliza is quiet for a moment. My family is hosting a gala next weekend for the foundation. I want you to come as my date. The words hang between us, monumental in their simplicity. Are you sure? No, she says honestly. But it's time. I spend an obscene amount of money on a new suit I can barely afford. James helps me prepare, coaching me on wine knowledge and which fork to use for what course. Just be yourself, he says finally, straightening my tie. Myself is the problem, I remind him. No, their classism is the problem. You're a goddamn catch, Noah Reynolds. I arrive at the museum 30 minutes early, pacing outside among the sculptures until my phone buzzes. Eliza appears at the top of the stairs, stunning in a deep red gown, her dark hair swept up to reveal the elegant line of her neck. You look beautiful, I say when she reaches me. You clean up pretty well yourself. She smiles, but it's tight with nerves. Ready? As I'll ever be. She takes my arm, her grip too tight. We climb the steps together, and I feel like we're ascending to a judgment. The gala is ostentatious in that understated way only true wealth can achieve. The museum's central hall has been transformed with subtle lighting and strategic flower arrangements, making the art itself seem like merely part of the decor. Eliza navigates the crowd with practiced ease, smiling and nodding at familiar faces while steering us toward a specific group. As we approach, I recognize them immediately from Eliza's descriptions and the family portrait I once saw on her phone. Lawrence and Victoria Chen, Alexander, and the youngest sister, Sophia. Lawrence spots us first. He's a compact man with commanding presence, his smile freezing slightly when he registers me beside his daughter. Mom, Dad, Eliza says, her voice impressively steady. This is Noah Reynolds, the man I've been seeing. Victoria Chen is a striking woman with perfect posture and calculating eyes. She says something to Eliza in rapid Mandarin that makes her daughter's cheeks flush. English, please, Mother, Eliza responds tightly. Lawrence extends his hand. His grip is precisely calibrated, firm enough to establish dominance, not so firm as to seem aggressive. Mr. Reynolds, I believe I read about your work recently. Yes, sir, the Downtown Revitalization Project. Interesting choice for an ambitious young architect. Not much profit in community work. And we're off. The conversation proceeds like a chess match, where I don't know all the rules. Lawrence asks about my background, my education, public university, not Ivy League, my career prospects. Each answer seems to confirm something he already suspected. Alexander watches with thinly veiled suspicion, occasionally interjecting with a targeted question about my 5-year plan or investment strategy. Only Sophia offers genuine warmth, asking about my design philosophy and actually listening to the answer, At one point, I excuse myself to get a drink, needing a moment of respite. As I wait at the bar, I overhear Lawrence talking to a colleague a few feet away. "Just a phase," he says dismissively. "She'll come to her senses. Always had a rebellious streak, my Eliza." I grip my glass tighter, struggling to maintain composure. When I return to the group, Eliza gives me a questioning look. I shake my head slightly. Not now. The evening continues, an exercise in subtle warfare. Yet something unexpected happens as the night progresses. A museum board member engages me in conversation about architectural preservation, and I speak passionately about balancing history with community needs. Others join in, and suddenly I'm the center of a small group genuinely interested in my insights. I catch Lawrence watching, his expression unreadable. As the gala winds down, he approaches me while Eliza is saying goodbyes to family friends. "Perhaps you should join us for family dinner next week," he says, not quite making it a question. "We should get to know the man who's been secretly dating our daughter." The emphasis on secretly is slight, but unmistakable. "I'd be honored," I respond, matching his formality. His smile doesn't reach his eyes. "Sunday at 7. Don't be late." As he walks away, Sophia appears at my side. "Well, you survived round 1, she says with a genuine smile. "That's more than most manage." "Is round 2 easier or harder?" She laughs. "Sunday dinner? That's the championship match." Then, more seriously, "He'll do background checks before then, just so you know." I have nothing to hide. Everyone has something to hide, Noah. The question is whether yours matters to him. I arrive at the Chen mansion precisely at 6:55 p.m. on Sunday, carrying a book on Chinese architectural history I noticed Lawrence admiring at the gala. The housekeeper, they have a housekeeper, leads me to a formal dining room that could comfortably seat 20. Victoria greets me with perfect politeness. She's wearing an elegant but understated dress that probably costs more than 3 months of my rent. "Noah, welcome. I hope you don't mind, but I've prepared a traditional meal." What she doesn't say, but what becomes apparent through the courses, is that she's served all the things I mentioned disliking in casual conversation at the gala: bitter melon, chicken feet, sea cucumber. It's a power move so subtle I almost admire it. Lawrence dominates the conversation with stories of his early days in America, the hardships, the discrimination, the persistence that built his fortune. The subtext is clear. What have you overcome, Noah Reynolds? What have you built? Noah is leading a significant revitalization project downtown, Eliza interjects, a lifeline I gratefully grab. "Ah, yes, the community project," Lawrence says dismissively. "Admirable, but ultimately charity work with no profit potential. Real estate development requires vision beyond good intentions." Something shifts in me. I've spent months anxious about measuring up to this family, but sitting here, watching Lawrence dismiss work I'm proud of, I find my voice. With respect, Mr. Chen, that's a limited perspective. The project actually creates a sustainable model where historical preservation increases property values while maintaining affordability through targeted zoning and community ownership stakes. I explain the financial structure, the long-term investment potential, the community goodwill that translates to political capital for future development. The table falls silent when I finish. Lawrence studies me with new intensity. "An interesting theory," he says finally. "We'll see if it works in practice." It's not approval, but it's not dismissal either. I count it as progress. As dinner ends, Victoria unexpectedly walks me out while Eliza is trapped in conversation with her father. "My husband fears what he doesn't control," she says when we reach the door. "It's kept him alive and successful, but it's also kept him from seeing some opportunities." She adjusts my collar slightly, a strangely maternal gesture. You presented yourself well tonight. But understand, this family didn't come this far by embracing risk. I'm not asking to join the family business, I say. I just want to date your daughter openly. Are you sure that's all you want? Her gaze is penetrating. Men who enter this family's orbit tend to want more eventually. The connections, the opportunities, the doors that open. I have my own doors to open. She smiles, genuinely this time. We'll see. I drive home determined to prove myself worthy, not for Eliza's sake or her family's approval, but for my own satisfaction. I'm tired of being the secret boyfriend, the unsuitable match, the charity case they're evaluating. If they want to judge me, let them judge me on my merit, not their preconceptions. Life takes an unexpected turn 2 weeks after the family dinner. My boss calls me into his office, unusually serious. The Chen Corporation has requested you as a consultant on their waterfront heritage project. I blink in surprise. They asked for me specifically? By name. Apparently, Lawrence Chen was impressed by your work on the downtown revitalization. He raises an eyebrow. Is there something I should know about how you came to his attention? I consider lying, but the truth will emerge eventually. I'm dating his daughter. He stares at me for a moment, then laughs. Well, that explains it. His expression turns serious again. This could be huge for your career, Noah. The Chen Corporation doesn't partner with firms our size usually, but I need to know, is this a real opportunity, or is he just sizing up his daughter's boyfriend? I honestly don't know, I admit. Then make it real, he says firmly. Show him why you deserve to be in that room, personal connections aside. When I call Eliza that evening, she's as surprised as I am. He didn't mention anything to me. Is this a test? Should I refuse? She's quiet for a moment. No, this is an opportunity intended or not. Take it. 2 days later, I'm standing in the conference room of the Chen Corporation, presenting my vision for the Waterfront Heritage Project to Lawrence and the board. The project is complex, renovating a historic waterfront building into a commercial space while navigating community opposition and preservation requirements. I've prepared meticulously, researching the building's history, the neighborhood demographics, the political landscape. I present a design that honors the original architecture while creating modern, functional spaces. More importantly, I outline a community engagement strategy that transforms potential opponents into stakeholders. When I finish, there's a moment of silence before Lawrence speaks. Impressive work, Mr. Reynolds. You'll work directly with Alexander on implementation. Alexander looks as surprised as I feel, but he nods professionally. Over the following weeks, I find myself in a strange new reality. By day, I'm collaborating with Alexander Chen, navigating the complexities of his father's company. By night, I'm with Eliza, our relationship now acknowledged but still scrutinized. Alexander is initially cold, treating me with professional courtesy but personal distance. Gradually, though, our working relationship develops a rhythm. He's brilliant and driven, with an instinctive understanding of the business side that complements my design focus. One late night, after a particularly challenging meeting with community representatives, he reveals a bit more of himself. My father expects me to be him, he says, staring out the office window at the city lights. But he forgets that he built something from nothing. I'm just maintaining what already exists. You could build something different, I suggest. He laughs without humor. That's not how legacy works in this family. I think about Eliza, caught in similar expectations. Maybe legacy isn't what you inherit, but what you choose to create. He gives me a measured look. You sound like Sophia, always questioning the established order. Is that a bad thing? In this family, usually. He gathers his papers, signaling the end of our conversation. But occasionally, it leads to innovation. It's the closest thing to a compliment he's offered. Victoria invites me to tea the following week, ostensibly to discuss design elements for the project. The Chen home feels different in daylight. Still imposing, but less intimidating. She serves tea in a private sitting room, the ceremony deliberate and graceful. "My husband sees potential in you," she says without preamble. "He wouldn't admit it, but your work has impressed him." "Thank you," I say, unsure where this is going. "I was a concert pianist before I married Lawrence," she continues, surprising me with the personal revelation. "My family opposed our marriage. They thought he was beneath me, a businessman with no appreciation for arts or culture. I try to imagine anyone thinking Lawrence Chen inadequate." "Did you regret giving up your career?" I ask carefully. She considers her teacup. "I made a choice. Not the only choice available, but the one that felt right at the time." Her eyes meet mine. Sometimes the most worthy path isn't the easiest one. I realize she's talking about more than her own history. "Mrs. Chen, if you're concerned about my intentions with Eliza—" "I'm concerned about both of you," she interrupts gently. "My daughter has always defined herself in opposition to this family, even while accepting its privileges. And you." She studies me. "You've spent your life believing merit alone determines success." "Doesn't it?" Her smile is sad. "Merit opens the door. Connections determine how far it opens." Before I leave, she shows me a room I hadn't seen before. A small music room dominated by a grand piano. She plays briefly, a Chopin piece performed with technical perfection, but something held back, restrained. "I still practice," she says, closing the piano. "Some passions never quite die." On the drive home, I think about choices and compromises, about paths taken and abandoned. I wonder what Eliza and I are each sacrificing in our attempt to bridge our worlds, and whether those sacrifices will leave us whole. 2 months into the waterfront project, Lawrence calls me into his office. The space is minimalist and intimidating, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay. "Your work has exceeded expectations," he says, nodding toward a chair. "Thank you, sir." "I'm offering you a position, project director with partnership potential after a proven period." The offer is unexpected and substantial, easily double my current salary, with benefits and advancement opportunities I couldn't access for years at my current firm. "I'm grateful for the opportunity," I say carefully. "May I ask what prompted this offer?" Lawrence leans back, studying me. "You have talent and vision. More importantly, you understand community dynamics in ways my current team doesn't." He pauses. "And you've shown loyalty and discretion in a personally complicated situation." "My relationship with Eliza?" "Yes." His expression gives nothing away. "You conducted yourself honorably despite the unusual circumstances." I consider my response carefully. "Mr. Chen, I appreciate your offer, but I need to be clear, my professional decisions and my relationship with Eliza are separate matters." "Nothing is ever truly separate, Mr. Reynolds. Family, business, relationships, they all intersect, especially at our level." Our level. The casual inclusion startles me. Has he already mentally incorporated me into their world? "I'd like some time to consider the offer," I say. He nods, unsurprised. "Of course, take the weekend. We'll speak Monday." As I leave his office, I realize a fundamental shift has occurred. I'm no longer the unsuitable boyfriend being evaluated. I'm a potential asset being recruited. I'm not sure which is more unsettling. Eliza and I meet for dinner that night. She's just returned from a business trip, her third in recent weeks. Her company is expanding its international presence, and she's being groomed to lead the initiative. "My father offered me a job," I tell her after we order. Her chopsticks pause mid-air. "He what?" I explain the meeting, the offer, the implications. As I speak, I notice something shift in her expression. Surprise, yes, but also something like dismay. "This is unexpected," she says finally. That's one word for it. "Are you going to take it?" I study her face, trying to read what she wants my answer to be. "I don't know. It's an incredible opportunity professionally, but it's complicated because of us." "Yes." I reach for her hand across the table. "What do you think I should do?" She withdraws her hand subtly, tucking hair behind her ear. "I can't answer that for you, Noah. It's your career." "It affects both of us." She's quiet for a moment. "When we met, you talked about creating spaces that transform communities, about architecture that serves people who are usually forgotten. The Chen Corporation doesn't exactly prioritize those values." "People change. Companies can too." "My father's company won't change," she says with certainty. "But maybe you will." The words hang between us, more accusation than observation. "That's not fair," I say finally. "For months, all I heard was how I needed to prove myself to your family. Now that I have, you're suggesting I'm compromising my values?" "Aren't you?" She meets my eyes directly. "You've been working with them for 2 months, and I already see the difference. The way you dress, the way you talk about investment potential over community impact." "I'm adapting to my environment. That's different from changing my values." "Is it?" She sighs. "I'm sorry, that was unfair. I never expected you to fit into their world so easily." The irony isn't lost on me. "What did you expect, Eliza? That I'd meet your family and they'd reject me, confirming all your rebellious instincts? Or that I'd reject them and their values, allowing you to break free without having to take responsibility for the choice?" Her silence tells me I've hit too close to home. "I need to think," she says finally, "about a lot of things." We finish dinner in strained conversation, the distance between us suddenly greater than the table's width. I spend the weekend walking the city, trying to clarify my thoughts. The Chen Corporation offer is professionally attractive, but Eliza's reaction has shaken me. Am I compromising myself to fit into their world? Or am I simply growing, adapting, finding ways to amplify my impact? Sunday evening, I make my decision. I call Lawrence early Monday morning. "I'd like to accept your offer," I tell him, "with certain conditions." I can almost hear his surprise. "Conditions?" "Yes. First, I want to continue leading the downtown revitalization project as well as the waterfront development. Second, I want to establish a mentorship program for young architects from underrepresented backgrounds. And third, I want complete creative autonomy on design decisions with the understanding that I'll work within budget constraints." The silence stretches so long, I wonder if the call dropped. Finally, he speaks. "Those are substantial requests for someone joining the company, Mr. Reynolds." "They are, but they reflect my values and vision for what I can contribute to Chen Corporation." Another pause. "Come to the office. We'll discuss details in person." 3 hours later, I leave Lawrence's office with a modified agreement that meets most of my conditions. The salary is slightly lower than initially offered, but the creative control remains intact, along with a smaller version of the mentorship program. When I call Eliza to share the news, it goes to voicemail. I text her the details, feeling both triumphant and uncertain. Her response comes hours later. "Congratulations, we should talk soon." The brevity and formality tell me everything I need to know about how she's processing this development. My first months at Chen Corporation pass in a blur of activity. The waterfront project advances rapidly, my design gaining attention in architectural circles. The mentorship program launches with 5 talented students from backgrounds similar to mine. I hired James to lead community engagement initiatives, giving him the corporate job he'd always been denied for cultural fit reasons. My relationship with Alexander evolves from professional courtesy to genuine collaboration. His legal mind complements my creative approach, and we find unexpected synergy in our work. Victoria supports my initiatives quietly but effectively, steering resources my way through her social connections. And Lawrence, to my ongoing surprise, becomes something of a mentor, demanding and exacting, yes, but also genuinely invested in my professional development. He introduces me to influential people with a proprietary pride I never expected to receive. Only with Eliza does something remain unresolved. Her international expansion role keeps her traveling frequently, and when she's home, there's a distance between us that conversations can't seem to bridge. We're still together, but something fundamental has shifted. The irony isn't lost on me. I've gone from being the secret boyfriend her family might reject to being the protege her father proudly introduces, all while she drifts further from both me and her family. 6 months after joining the company, I receive an unexpected invitation from Lawrence, the annual Chen family retreat at their Lake Tahoe estate, a tradition previously reserved for family and potential spouses deemed worthy. When I tell Eliza, her reaction is complex, a mixture of surprise, resignation, and something that might be grief. "You should go," she says, though her enthusiasm seems forced. "It's quite an honor to be invited." "Will you be there?" I ask, realizing I don't even know her schedule anymore. She hesitates. "I'll try to make it for at least part of the weekend." The uncertainty in her voice tells me everything I need to know about where we stand. The Chen family retreat reveals dimensions to each family member I never expected to see. The Lake Tahoe estate is stunning, a modernist structure of glass and stone nestled among pines, with private lake access and views that make my architect's heart race. What surprises me more is how different everyone seems away from San Francisco. Lawrence, freed from business pressures, shows a contemplative side. I find him one morning on the deck, watching the sunrise with a cup of tea. "My father was a fisherman," he says when I join him, a rare personal detail offered voluntarily. He would rise before dawn every day, just to have this moment of quiet before facing the sea. "You still keep his habit," I observe. "Some traditions are worth preserving." He glances at me. "Others must evolve. That's the challenge, knowing which is which." The conversation shifts to the waterfront project, but that brief glimpse into his history stays with me. Victoria, too, reveals hidden depths. One night, unable to sleep, I wander downstairs to find her playing the piano in the estate's music room. Unlike the restrained performance she gave me months ago, this music flows with passion and technical brilliance that takes my breath away. She stops abruptly when she notices me, embarrassment crossing her features. "Please don't stop," I say. "That was beautiful." "Old habits," she says dismissively, though her fingers linger on the keys. "I was classically trained from age 4. Do you ever regret giving it up professionally?" She considers this with surprising candor. "Regret is a luxury, Noah. I made choices. Some for love, some for family, some for practicality." She plays a few notes idly. "The question isn't whether we regret our choices, but whether we can find peace with them." Alexander shows yet another side when we take a boat out on the lake. After a few drinks, his carefully maintained composure cracks. "Sometimes I hate this life. he confesses, staring across the water. The constant pressure, the legacy, the expectations. Dad built all this from nothing, which means I'll be a failure unless I build something even greater. That's an impossible standard, I say. Tell me about it. He takes another drink. You know what I wanted to be when I was a kid? A history professor. I love research, archives, the stories of how societies evolved. He laughs bitterly. Instead, I got Harvard Law and a corner office with a view I'm too busy to enjoy. Even Sophia, who I thought I understood as the family rebel, surprises me by introducing her boyfriend, a quiet artist named Eli with tattoos and genuine talent. She brings him for just one day, a brief appearance that Lawrence and Victoria acknowledge with strained politeness. You're blazing the trail, she tells me privately. If they can accept you, maybe there's hope for Eli too. They've accepted me professionally, I clarify. The personal part is still complicated. She grins. The personal is always complicated in this family. Eliza arrives on the third day, tired from flights but putting on a good face. Watching her slip back into family dynamics is fascinating. She has a specific role she plays, the dutiful but slightly distant middle child, competent but not threatening to Alexander's position, conventional enough to avoid Sophia's scrutiny. With me, though, there's a new awkwardness. I'm no longer an outsider to her family, which means our dynamic has fundamentally changed. We're polite, even affectionate in public, but the easy intimacy we once shared feels elusive. On our last evening, Lawrence suffers a minor health scare. Nothing serious, but his blood pressure spikes dangerously after an argument with Alexander about business strategy. While the family panics, I'm the one who calmly calls the local doctor, arranges for medication, and diffuses the situation. Later, sitting on the deck while everyone else prepares for dinner, Lawrence joins me again. Thank you for your help earlier, he says, uncharacteristically humble. Of course. He's quiet for a moment, looking out at the lake. I built all this to give my children security I never had, he says finally. But I sometimes wonder if I've done them a disservice. How so? Security can become a cage. Challenge builds character. He glances at me. You understand that. You've faced obstacles, created your own path. With plenty of help and luck along the way, I add. He nods, acknowledging the point. What are your intentions with my daughter, Noah? The direct question catches me off guard. I love her, I say simply. That wasn't my question. I consider my answer carefully. My intention was to build a life with her. Now I'm not sure what our future holds. Because she's pulling away, he observes shrewdly. I don't confirm or deny, which is confirmation enough. Eliza has always defined herself in opposition to what she perceives as constraint, he says. What she doesn't yet understand is that real freedom comes from knowing who you are, not just who you aren't. It's perhaps the most insightful thing I've ever heard him say about his daughter. I want her to be happy, I say. As do I. He rises to return inside, though we may disagree on what that looks like. Back in San Francisco, my career continues its upward trajectory. The waterfront project nears completion to considerable acclaim, and I'm offered the opportunity to lead an even more significant development independently. Eliza faces her own crossroads, a promotion that would make her international role permanent, establishing new offices across Asia. It would mean at least 6 months overseas, with only occasional visits home. You should take it, I tell her when she shares the news. We're at my apartment, the first real conversation we've had in weeks. It's exactly the kind of impact you've wanted to make. She studies me, searching my face. You really think so? I know you, Eliza. You've always wanted more independence, more room to prove yourself outside your family's shadow. This is that chance. And what about us? The question hangs between us, encompassing all the unspoken tensions of recent months. I think we both need to figure out who we are and what we want, I say carefully. Maybe some distance will help with that. She nods slowly, eyes bright with unshed tears. When did you get so wise? Probably around the time I stopped trying to be someone I'm not just to fit into your world. That's not fair, she protests. I never asked you to change. Not directly, I agree. But you wanted me to be your rebellion against your family. Then, when they accepted me, you didn't know what to do with me anymore. The truth of it sits heavily between us. Finally, she speaks again. I do love you, Noah. I know, and I love you, but love isn't always enough. We spend the night together, a bittersweet reunion that feels simultaneously like a beginning and an ending. In the morning, she leaves for a 2-week trip to Singapore, the first step toward her new role. 3 days later, Lawrence invites me to dinner. Just the two of us. Eliza has accepted the international position, he says after we order. I know, it's a great opportunity for her. He studies me carefully. And you encouraged this? It's what she wants. Interesting. He sips his wine thoughtfully. Most men in your position would try to keep her close. I'm not most men. No, you're not. He sets down his glass. I'd like to discuss your future with the company. I'm creating a new division focused on sustainable urban development, combining profit with the community values you've championed. I want you to lead it. The offer is unexpected and perfect, exactly the kind of role I'd design for myself if given the chance. Why me? I ask, genuinely curious. Because you've proven that principles and profit can coexist. It's a lesson my company needs to learn. He pauses. And because you care about legacy, not just buildings that stand for decades, but impact that lasts generations. I think about my journey, from the secret boyfriend to potential division head, all while the relationship that brought me into this world has faded into uncertainty. I'd be honored, I say finally. Lawrence nods, satisfied. We'll announce at the quarterly meeting next month. As we finish dinner, he asks casually about Eliza's plans while abroad, whether she'll be visiting during holidays, how long her assignment might last. I realize with a start that he's now using me as a connection to his increasingly distant daughter. The irony is almost too perfect. Eliza returns for Christmas, 6 weeks after beginning her international role. In those weeks, my professional life has transformed. The new sustainability division announcement generated industry buzz, bringing interview requests and speaking invitations. The mentorship program expanded to 15 students, with corporate funding secured for the next 5 years. When Eliza walks into her family's home for Christmas Eve dinner, she freezes momentarily in the doorway. I'm standing by the fireplace, Lawrence's arm casually around my shoulder, as we discuss project timelines. Victoria is showing me family photos from previous holidays. Alexander and I are laughing about a construction mishap from earlier that week. I've become the insider she never fully managed to be. Her smile tightens as she greets everyone, accepting hugs and deflecting questions about her work abroad. Throughout dinner, I catch her watching me interact with her family, something unreadable in her expression. After dinner, she asks if we can talk privately. We step out onto the terrace, the San Francisco skyline glittering below us. So, she says, pulling her wrap tighter against the December chill. You've certainly made yourself at home. Eliza. No, I get it. It's just strange. I spent my whole life trying to carve out some independence from them, and you waltz in and become the son my father always wanted. That's not fair, I say, echoing her own frequent defense. I didn't waltz in anywhere. I worked my ass off to be respected on my own terms, while dating the boss's daughter. The accusation stings. Is that really what you think? That I used you to get to your father? No. She sighs, deflating slightly. No, I don't think that. But you have to admit it's ironic. I made you hide because I thought they'd never accept you, and now you're practically running the company while I'm halfway around the world trying to prove myself. I'm not running the company. You know what I mean. We stand in silence, watching our breath cloud in the cold air. What happened to us, Noah? She asks finally. I considered the question carefully. You wanted me to be your rebellion, but I just wanted to be myself. When your family accepted me, it ruined the narrative you'd created. That's not it, isn't it? You were defining yourself in opposition to them. When they approved of your choice, it took away your resistance point. She stares out at the city. You sound like my father now. Maybe he understands you better than you think. Or maybe you've become exactly what he wanted you to be. The accusation hangs between us. I take a deep breath, trying to stay calm. I haven't changed who I am, Eliza. I've just stopped apologizing for it. The work I'm doing now, sustainable development, the mentorship program, community integration, these were always my values. I've just found a way to amplify them through your father's resources. And in return, you've given him exactly what he wanted, someone to bring me back into the fold. Her perception startles me. Is that what you think he's doing? Of course it is. My father doesn't make moves without multiple purposes. By bringing you in, he gets both your talent and a connection to me. She shakes her head. The funny thing is, I'm not even sure you realize it. We part without resolution. The distance between us now measured in more than just miles. She returns to Singapore 3 days later. Our goodbye polite but hollow. That evening, I meet Sophia for coffee. Of all the Chens, she's become the closest thing to a friend. So that was awkward, she says without preamble. You noticed? Everyone noticed. Subtlety isn't really our family's strong suit. She stirs her latte thoughtfully. You know, Eliza wanted to use you to break free. You used yourself to break in. I wasn't trying to break in anywhere. Maybe not consciously. She gives me a knowing look. But you've spent your life being the outsider, the guy who has to work twice as hard for half the recognition. Is it really surprising that when given the chance, you'd want to belong? Her insight is uncomfortable, but not entirely wrong. I've found satisfaction in being accepted by the Chens, in having my talents recognized and amplified through their resources. What should I do? I ask. About Eliza or about your soul? Sophia grins to soften the question. Both, I guess. For what it's worth, I think you need some distance from all of us, including my sister. Figure out what you want, separate from the Chen gravitational pull. She reaches across the table, squeezing my hand briefly. You're too good to be anyone's rebellion or anyone's protege. Be Noah Reynolds, whoever that is. Her words stay with me, gnawing at my certainty. 2 weeks later, I make a decision. I request a 6-month leave of absence to work on a passion project, designing sustainable housing in my old Oakland neighborhood. Lawrence is bewildered when I explain my plan. This makes no business sense, he says flatly. Partnership is less than a year away. I need to make sure I'm doing this for the right reasons, I explain. Not for status or acceptance or even money. This is about Eliza. No, I say, surprising myself with my certainty. This is about me. He studies me for a long moment. 6 months. The position will remain open, but I make no guarantees about projects or responsibilities when you return. I understand. Thank you. Oakland welcomes me back with familiar grit and renewed energy. The neighborhood where I grew up has begun gentrifying, but pockets of the community remain, fighting displacement. I rent a small office and begin designing housing that community members can actually afford to live in. The work is challenging, but deeply satisfying. I partner with a nonprofit land trust, develop innovative ownership models, and create designs that honor the neighborhood's culture while providing modern, efficient spaces. Freed from corporate pressures and family dynamics, I rediscover my original passion for architecture as community service. I hire local workers, mentor neighborhood kids interested in design, and find myself building something more meaningful than just buildings. To my surprise, Victoria visits the project site 3 months in. She appears out of place in her elegant clothes, but her interest seems genuine. "Impressive work," she says, reviewing the plans and models. "Thank you. It's small scale compared to what I was doing at Chen Corp, but it matters more," she finishes. "I can see that." We walk the site together, and she shares stories I've never heard about her early days with Lawrence, when they lived in a tiny apartment and dreamed of changing their community before wealth became the goal. "We started with purpose, too," she says, touching a model of the community center. "Somewhere along the way, the means became the end." "It's not too late to reconnect with that purpose," I suggest. She smiles sadly. "Perhaps not for you. For us? Well, inertia is a powerful force." 2 weeks later, Lawrence visits. He examines everything with critical precision, asking pointed questions about finances, timelines, and scalability. "This won't make much money," he observes, though without his usual dismissiveness. That's not the primary goal. What is, then? Creating homes people can afford to stay in, building community wealth instead of extracting it, designing spaces that bring people together instead of isolating them. He nods slowly. There are elements here that could be applied more broadly. That's the idea. It's a model, not just a project. As we finish the tour, he makes an unexpected confession. When I arrived in this country, I wanted to build communities like this. Somewhere along the way, I became more focused on building wealth than community. "It's never too late to refocus," I say, echoing what I told Victoria. He almost smiles. Perhaps not. 2 months later, my project is completed. 32 homes, a community center, and a small business incubator, all designed for sustainability and community ownership. It's profiled in design magazines and creates a ripple of interest in ethical development models. Eliza returns from Singapore, her international assignment modified to allow her to be based in San Francisco again. She texts, asking to meet. We walk through my completed project together, the spring sun warming the courtyard where residents are planting a community garden. "This is beautiful, Noah," she says, genuine admiration in her voice. "It's so you." "Thank you." We find a bench in a quiet corner, the awkwardness between us both familiar and strange. "I've been thinking a lot about us," she says finally, "about what went wrong." And I think we were both using each other in ways we didn't fully understand. She looks at me directly. "I wanted you to validate my rebellion against my family. You wanted acceptance into a world that had always excluded you." Her insight is eerily accurate. That doesn't mean what we felt wasn't real. No, it doesn't. But it means we were looking at each other through distorted lenses. She sighs. "I miss you, but I don't think we can go back to what we were." "I don't think I want to," I admit. "Go back, I mean. We're different people now." "Yes, we are." She smiles sadly. "The irony isn't lost on me, you know. I made you hide from my family because I thought they'd reject you, and now they probably wish I'd kept you." I laugh despite myself. Life rarely follows the paths we expect. We talk for hours, catching up on our separate journeys. She's found unexpected fulfillment in her international role, connecting with a part of her heritage she'd previously held at arm's length. I share my renewed sense of purpose, the clarity that came from stepping away from the Chen orbit. As the sun begins to set, we face the question of what comes next. I don't know if we can rebuild what we had, I say honestly. Too much has changed. I know, she agrees, but maybe we can build something new, something based on who we are now, not who we were trying to be. It's not a promise, just a possibility. For now, that's enough. The Chen family hosts a celebration for the completion of my Oakland project. To my surprise, Lawrence announces a foundation initiative based on my community ownership model, with plans to implement it in disadvantaged neighborhoods across the city. Noah Reynolds has reminded us what it means to build with purpose, he says to the gathered guests. His vision will help shape our company's approach moving forward. Victoria kisses my cheek, whispering, "You've become family to us, regardless of what happens with Eliza." Alexander discusses a potential partnership focused on ethical development, his enthusiasm genuine. Even Sophia brings Eli, her artist boyfriend, now openly acknowledged. Eliza watches from across the room as her family embraces me in ways they never embraced her rebellion. Our eyes meet, a world of understanding passing between us. Later, standing alone on the terrace, I consider the path that brought me here. From secret boyfriend to family confidant, from outsider to insider. From seeking acceptance to finding purpose. The irony isn't lost on me. In trying to be worthy of Eliza's world, I created my own. Lawrence joins me, offering a glass of whiskey. "Have you decided about returning to the company?" "I have," I say. "I'd like to establish a separate division focused specifically on community development models with direct connections to the nonprofit sector." Not quite what I offered originally. No, but it's what I can contribute authentically. He considers this, then nods. "We can make that work." As guests depart, Eliza finds me again. "So you're going back," she says. "On my terms, yes." "Good for you." She sounds genuinely pleased. "And us?" I look at her. This woman who once made me hide in the shadows of her life, who now stands beside me in the light. I think we take it one day at a time. No expectations, no hiding, no agendas. Just two people figuring out who they are together. She smiles. The first genuine smile I've seen from her in months. I'd like that. Later that night, driving home to my Oakland apartment, I reflect on the strange journey that brought me here. I think about the man I was when Eliza first made me hide our relationship, insecure, seeking validation, hungry for acceptance. I've become someone her family wishes she had kept. But more importantly, I've become someone I'm proud to be. Sometimes the most unexpected detours lead us exactly where we need to go.